The NFL, where we're now just 2 days away from the first rookies reporting to camp. With that in mind, let's break down some of the biggest stories around the league. Very happy to welcome in this crew. We've got Louis Riddick, we've got Kimberly Martin, and we want to welcome Tom Pelissero to Get Up and ESPN this morning. Tom, today is deadline day for a franchise tag player to get a long-term deal. What's the latest you can tell us about George Pickens and the Cowboys?
Well, Peter, the deadline is 4 p.m. Eastern time today to do a multi-year deal, and the full expectation is that deadline will pass without a multi-year contract in place for George Pickens. These conversations really never progress beyond a preliminary fashion. The sides both were on different pages in terms of what a contract would look like. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones called Pickens' agent David Mulugheta personally and told him, we're not going to get a deal done. So he's now set to show up and play on the tag. They were happy that he showed up to minicamp. He looks great physically. They expect they're going to get the best version of George Pickens in 2026.
It's so interesting. Louis, you've been in the front office, obviously. How about the way Dallas has approached this Pickens deal? What's your reaction to that?
Well, clearly, Peter, they feel as though the best version of George Pickens is the one that is hungry and trying to secure long-term financial stability in the form of a long-term contract. And they're just not comfortable going ahead and giving him financial security and signing into a long-term deal. And look, I guess you have to understand, where Dallas is coming from with this. They have more information than anyone else. They're the ones who were with him every single day last year. And look, they know he produced. They know that he had a heck of a season. They know that if he were to hit the open market, what he would command. They're just not comfortable going ahead and giving him the guaranteed money that he probably will get on the open market from some football team. To me, this sounds like a situation that is setting up for 2026 to be George's last season. That last season in Dallas, George kind of realizes that, and that's why he said, hey, look, I'm going to sign a tender going here and just kind of rip it up this year and then let the chips fall where they may in the offseason in 27. There's really no other way to look at it.
He could hit the free agent market if that's the case, but he could also end up back in Dallas if things go right. What's your take on all of this?
My fear is that what Louis is saying is correct, that this could be his last year in Dallas. And so my first thought is, what was the point of trading for him? Because George Pickens is a young guy with a lot of talent, and that wasn't a team that was, one player away from winning a Super Bowl. You needed a couple years. And when I look at George Pickens, his price tag, if we expect him to have the type of year that the Cowboys expect him to have and we expect him to have, he's only going to get more expensive. Mm-hmm. And if they didn't feel comfortable with the guarantee money now, he plays well, he's going to command more money. Then where does that leave them? And that is my fear for a team that revamped its defense. And you're finally excited about the Cowboys pairing the offense and Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. If Pickens is not part of the future, I feel like we're taking one step forward to take two steps back.
Yeah, deadline day is today, but it's kind of a foregone conclusion on that one. Let's head out west. Tom, what can you tell us about Aaron Donald and a potential return to the Rams? We saw this footage courtesy of TMZ Sports of him working out at the Rams facility last week. Where are we right now in Donald and the Rams?
Listen, this is all up to Aaron Donald, Peter, at this point, whether or not he's going to come out of that 2-year retirement. There's not really recruiting going on. The Rams made clear they'd welcome Aaron Donald back. They're now giving him space and support. You want to come over to the facility and work out? Come over to the facility and work out. I think we have to consider the history here. There's not a lot of precedent for this. There's only one player in the Hall of Fame who took multiple seasons off and came back and played again. That was Deion Sanders, who was still productive but was a part-time player with the Ravens at that tail end of his career. For Aaron Donald to come back, if we're being realistic, and the Rams are, he's probably not going out there and playing 70 snaps a game. What they would like to do is, all right, 2-minute pass rush situations, third downs, keep him fresh, Louis, for those highest leverage moments, and then basically force teams to figure out who in the world are you going to double on a front that's got Myles Garrett, Kobe Turner, and Byron Young as well.
Yeah, I would add that from what we're hearing from the Rams side, it's like Aaron Donald has communicated he wants to be in the best shape possible if he is going to make this return, and that workout was just part of that. Louis, what would Donald's return mean, though, for the rest of the NFC, as obviously that front four will be as dominant as any in the league?
Yeah, first of all, you have to say this. Look, you have to assume that if Aaron does come back, this is the epitome of trust between player and team. Meaning, if he does come back, you trust the fact that he is making a decision based on the fact that he believes he can be dominant once again. And who am I or anyone else to doubt Aaron Donald? He's probably the one guy really in the history of my time covering the NFL that I would trust the most. What would it mean for defenses? Can you picture what their sub rush would look like with Myles Garrett, Byron Young, Aaron Donald, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, some form or fashion of those 4 or 5 guys up front, like dialing it up for a team against a team in a 3rd and 10 type situation where they need to throw? I mean, come on now. You're talking about maybe the best defensive tackle of all time, or one of the top 2 defensive tackles of all time. If he comes back, it's because he believes that he's going to terrorize again, and that is scary for everyone else.
It is. Kmart, with Donald back in the fold, if he were to return, where does that put the Rams like as an all-time unit, just on paper?
I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but I already saw the Rams as the favorite for the Super Bowl just going into the season. You tell me Aaron Donald will return? Now I'm putting all my chips in and I'm saying, okay, I expect Sean McVay to lead this team to the Super Bowl. At every point, if you're an offense, how do we attack them? How do we keep them from stopping us? Because everywhere you look, there's a playmaker. And Aaron Donald, despite coming out of retirement, coming back, if he were to do that, he hasn't played in a while. But you know that, as Tom was saying, it's for those special moments. It's for those situations where you need that guy. Listen, when I think of Aaron Donald, I still picture that Super Bowl defining play against Joe Burrow. Like, he's the reason that Joe Burrow is still looking for a chance to get back to the Super Bowl. This play sealed the deal. And so that is the image when I think of Aaron Donald. You tell me that man does not need a ton of time to make that same play. And that's what's scary about the proposition of him joining this team.
Tom Pelissero, I'm going to go back to you. You mentioned snap counts and all that. Like, do we have any feel for dollars and numbers? Is it incentives based? If we even got there, from what I'm being told, that conversation hasn't really progressed. But what's the early read around the league on that?
Aaron Donald is still, by the way, under contract, Peter, but yes, there'd be an adjustment to that deal. He's on the reserve retired list. There are some functional things that would have to take place here. But if Aaron Donald wants to play, the Rams, of all people, are not going to quibble over dollars and cents. They're going to find a way to make this thing happen. They're going to make it worth his while. Same guy they paid a bonus after he was retired. They've done that for a bunch of their veteran players. They are certainly going to take care of Aaron Donald if he is willing to play.
Absolutely, guys. That was a great conversation. We have plenty more NFL to come. But first, who will join Spain in the World Cup final? Messi or England? We break down one of the most anticipated showdowns, decades in the making. Coming up, take a look at the board. Here's what we got. Screwball trade? Should the Tigers be making a move? Is there questions on Lamar, the World Cup stunner, and then who's going to be the next JSN? We will explain.